Hello, the Pioneer viewers. How are you doing? I hope you're healthy and well. The existence of a nation depends on the determination and faith of the nation, doesn't it? From time to time, there are people who claim to be leaders. Their only aims is to protect and promote their own personal interests. If nations are unable to stop these individuals acting for their own personal interests, they may face the danger of extinction. Many times in the history of the world, similar situations have arisen and nations that have struggled to survive have managed to survive. The Ukrainian people are standing up against an external enemy. But what about the Russian people? The enemy of the Russian people is Vladimir Putin, who presents himself as a leader. But now the Russian people have also risen up against Putin. Let's take a look at details of this event. As the Pioneer team, we continue to bring developments regarding Russia-Ukraine war to your screens. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so that you don't miss our daily map reports and reports on the agenda. You can also support me and my team by using the super thanks button below the videos. Thank you for your support. Let's start if you are ready, the Pioneer reports. The Russian people are no longer able to fight the hardship of the war, and they're doing it alone. Russian President Vladimir Putin and his leadership team remain indifferent to the plight of the Russian people. Hundreds of the Russian soldiers are being annihilated on the front lines every day, and the vast majority of these soldiers are the Russian citizens who have been forcibly conscripted. So their families of these soldiers want their children, brothers, sisters, husbands, and fathers to return home as soon as possible. This is only possible if President of the Russian Federation Vladimir Putin renounced the war. This seems unlikely at the moment because Putin has pinned all his dreams for the future on the complete occupation of Ukraine. According to Putin, Ukrainian territory is one of the Russia's rights. But Vladimir Putin has lost sight of reality and is therefore making many mistakes. These mistakes are fueling the anger of the Russian people. The anger manifests itself in different ways every day. Recently in Moscow, Russian citizens took action to show this anger. The wives of the Russian soldiers serving on the front line has launched a campaign called The Road Home. The main aim of this campaign was the first Russian leadership to end the war. Many young women took to street carrying placards. They were all chanting the same word: Putin, give our family back. These protests were on the largest demonstration ever to take place within the borders of the Russian Federation, and this time it was not only the families of active servicemen but all Russian citizens. Rumors have spread throughout Russia that Vladimir Putin, the president of the Russian Federation, was allegedly preparing for a new mobilization. Therefore, people of the age of all groups participated in these protests. However, there was an unexpected development. As the peaceful protest of Moscow women continued, Russian law enforcement officers suddenly arrived. Law enforcement officials said that the unauthorized demonstration had to end immediately. However, contrary to the law enforcement officials' claims, all the necessary permits had been obtained for this demonstration. The Moscow women, exercising their perfectly legal right, said they would not leave it aside. Russian law enforcement officials insisted that the women end the demonstration, but the Muscovite women were determined. It was at this point that the Russian policemen started to attack the women with the rubber bullets, but the Muscovite women were still resisting. None of them left their positions and kept raising their voices, "By Putin, give us our families back." The women's determined resistance was exacerbated by the intervention of the Russian police. The police attacked the demonstrators with the gas canisters, including women and children. Many women fainted at the demonstration site after being affected by the tear gas. Ambulances were called to the area, but they were unable to enter because the Moscow police had cornered off the area. Women affected by the gas were unable to get out help as they awaited at risk of poisoning. Russian police targeted all women who were in the area where the ongoing demonstration was taking place. Many sources interpret this as the Kremlin's refusal to allow any dissenting opinion. The Kremlin is also trying to cover up the casualties of the war in this way, and the Kremlin administration does not allow protest because the appearance of the soldiers' wives who are cornered about the increasing losses in the Russian army makes it increasing losses known to the Russian people. Allegedly, many women were injured, and the protest and many were even detained with their children. Human rights defenders in Russia who still maintain their stance are also reacting strongly against the Kremlin administration. While many organizations state that this attitude is anti-democratic, the Kremlin administration pays little attention to these criticisms. The growing protests and escalating tensions in Russia have demonstrated the variety of the reports of casualties in the Russian army. While Russian sources have consistently claimed that the alleged casualties in the army are not as high as they usually are, these protests show that the families of many soldiers have somehow accessed these reports. Therefore, the wives of these soldiers are now demanding an end to the war because the information they received from their husbands on the front line shows that the casualties are indeed high. The losses suffered by the Russian army on the front line are increasing. This is causing the Russian people to revolt against the Putin regime. On the other hand, the Ukrainian army continues its precision offensives against the Russian army and Putin, the chief architect of the Russian occupation. Recently, the Ukrainian army carried out another impressive drone strike. This attack has shaken Russia, dealing a major blow to the oil trade, one of Russia's biggest exports. Ukrainian army drones have taken to the air once again in recent days. These drones flew unimpeded in the Russian airspace for a long period of time. Among their targets was an oil production and the distribution point. This oil refinery in Volgograd is one of the largest in Russia. Some sources even claim that a significant portion of Russia's oil exports go through this refinery. Unmanned aerial vehicles belonging to the Ukrainian army managed to reach this refinery during the operation that started at night. The drone hitting the refinery caused a huge explosion. After the explosion, a big fire started in the oil refinery. The fire grew rapidly due to the wind and could not be brought under control for a long time. Allegedly, Russia suffered billions of dollars in losses as a result of this attack. The unhindered advance of the Ukrainian drones inside Russia has once again raised questions about the Russian effective and how effective Russian air defense systems really are. Do you think that the Russian people will participate more in the mass protests, and do you think they will be effective? And how will the protests of the Russian citizens affect the situation in the region? Can Putin be dissuaded from the war by such protests? And what do you think about the drone attacks by the Ukrainian army? Do you think Russian air defense systems are really failing? Let me know in the comments, because I read and I care about all your comments.